Oh, I'm going crazy. I'm giving myself 24 hours to build this boat. I'm gonna show you in this video how to build this boat. Then I'm taking this boat to the Bahamas. Yes, I am going to drive this skiff, this old sailboat, convert it into a skiff. We're gonna take this boat straight to the Bahamas, solo crossing. How awesome. This is the Flying Scot. So this is a sailboat. This is a phenomenal platform. I built a boat similar to this years ago. I converted a 25-foot McGregor sailboat into a skiff. It worked out so well, super efficient. All right, so let's do a quick walkthrough of this thing. I'm gonna show you just what it's like factory before we cut it up. Oh, there's some little baby froggies. Okay, free paddle, cool. Definitely use that. This is the back. So you can see the way that this boat was built. You've got solid fiberglass bottom, and then they've got a core material. You kind of see the outline here. Let's see if you guys can see that. But basically this whole floor, it's one of the things I really like about this boat. This entire floor has a core material, so it's basically sandwiched core. You've got fiberglass on the bottom, it was laid up in a mold, and then they put a core material and then glassed over that. So that gives you tremendous strength. Let's look inside the front. I think this could turn out to be a really cool storage little nook to even camp underneath, sleep. I got some ideas going through my head. What would you do with this boat the way it is? I don't know if I can crawl in here. Yeah, I can crawl in easy. I'm gonna go with some spiders. Oh, dude. Easy. Probably looks super. It's not bad. And looking up here, so this is all, so there is wood. This is a wood deck. You can see how well made this boat is. Look at this. A little bit of mold up here. But, I mean, this thing's actually, look how big this is. Be a lot easier to get in and out if we remove that. So we'll cut this out, and then just build a simple little support that goes right across. Still be able to stand on it, won't lose any strength, save a bunch of weight and gain access to it. So rock and roll. Let's start some disassembly, get it down to see what we can work with. Let's do it. All right, so we're making progress. We got everything taken off the stern. A lot of holes to fill. We're gonna walk through this a little bit more after we finish taking apart. So now we're gonna move forward. And we're gonna start taking apart stuff here in the cockpit. So, cockpit time! Cockpit time! Cockpit time! Gotta pull up the pants. Okay. We got this. Ah. We got it. All right, we just got the keel out. We are about an hour and a half into this. Whoo, it's hot. Making good progress. Holy moly, we just shed some weight. I can't believe that little keel weighed so much. Anyways, we don't have much left, guys. And then we're ready to start cutting up some stuff. So here we go. We're gonna mess with the keel box and then this front section. Okay, someone remind me why I said I would do this in 24 hours. I'm dying. It is hot. And it is definitely summertime in Florida. So this is where we're at. I got everything taken off this thing that needs to be stripped. All the hardware that we wanted off. We've got the keel out. We are ready to start cutting. So that's our next step. So the first thing I wanted to cut out of here is gonna be these benches. I want to free up as much cockpit. I want to free up as much cockpit space as possible. Oh, cockpits. So what I'm going to do is trim this out. I'm going to run a piece of tape. Might as well do a nice clean line right now. Yes, I could just take a Sawzall, zip it off, but might as well tape it off, get a nice clean edge to follow, which I highly recommend doing. And then it's going to free up more space for us to cut out the keel box. All right, so we've got both bench seats out. How much room is in here? I like it. So next we're gonna cut out the box. All right, whee! We're rocking and rolling up in this. All right, you can see big open. This is little canvas where the keel would slide in. Hey, look at that little guy. What you doing in there? Come on, get up, get out. All right. And 3 hours in, with 3 hours into this build, I'm getting beat up, but we are making it happen. This is what we got going on. Yeah, 21 hours left. And we're putting it in the water, and we're going for a ride. And guess where we're gonna go? We're going to the Bahamas. All right, so back from lunch. My sweat has dried. It's time to bust out on this bad boy. So what we're gonna do now is I just grabbed a piece of scrap Kusa. So this is Kusa board. It's a composite. You could use plywood if you wanted. I happen to have this scrap piece laying around, which is awesome. And this is gonna be plenty strong for this application for building a transom. So what I'm gonna do on this is the quick version. Yes, I could easily, or not easily, but instead of crawling inside of here and trying to grind all the inside and make it flush and laminating from the inside, I'm not worried about protecting the back of this transom. You know, clearly we've got a ton of holes here that would have to be filled and have work done to it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna grind all of this down. I'm gonna take these rings off, but I'm gonna grind this down. And what we're gonna do is, after I cut this piece out, this is gonna be bonded straight to the back. And then once it's bonded to the back, I'm gonna do a couple laminations. That's gonna protect it. We're gonna be good to go on that. Especially for the size motor that's going on this. A 350R. Got it. All right, we're going on hour 6, maybe? I don't know, I can't even keep track. But here we are, we got the transom prepped. Grounded down to straight fiberglass. You're gonna get a much better bite instead of going to gel coat. I want this torn down to straight fiberglass, give a really good bond. We're gonna mix up some resin and get this thing on here. All right, so I'm mixing up just a polyester resin. I like to go with a 1% mixture, especially with this Florida heat. Gives me plenty of time to work with it. And the key to having successful fiberglass work is to mix your stuff properly. So I really spend extra time to mix it. Here I'm just getting everything wet out, and then I've mixed my own putty. This is what I'm gonna use. It's mixed resin and aerosol or Cavasil, whatever you wanna call it. And once I've got it spread evenly, I am literally going to just flop it onto the transom. And I've already pre-drilled so that I can just put in my screws. I've already test fit this and get it nice and tight. 8 hours into this is where we're at. Got a lot done today. Got the transom taken care of. Cavasil mixed with resin, made our putty. This is bonded. We're gonna let that dry overnight, and then in the morning, we're gonna glass over this whole thing. A couple laminations, and yeah, transom will be done. All right, so here we are. I took off the clamps, took out the screws, did a little cleanup just with the dual action sander. All I wanted to do really was to knock down where some of the resin aerosol mix had come through the Cusa board. So just get a clean surface and cleaned up the edges. So now what I'm gonna do is get some cloth, lay it out, cut it up, fit it, and do it. Ain't that right, Tiny Boat Nation? Woo, gonna kill it. All right, I just finished. Got this trimmed to be nice and level, fairly level. I'm just gonna hit it really quick to try to give it a last little bit. Clean up the edges, and then basically this will be ready for glass. And then I'm gonna crawl underneath, undo the little canvas, unscrew that, and then grind from the bottom. Just prepare the surface, and then we'll fill and glass from the top. We're on about hour 20 right now. We got 4 hours left. Whew. We had a little threatening showers, but they're leaving us alone. So what we're gonna do now is push, final push. 4 hours left, get all this glass work done. Oh, I can't see, sweat in my eyes. I need a headband. Let's do it. All right, so next on the list, I want to fill this void. So I take some scrap pieces of foam, cut them up, stuff them between the fiberglass, and then use a 2-part expanding foam to fill all the voids. Once it's hardened, it's ready for me to trim. So I just do a rough cut with the Sawzall blade by hand, and then it's ready for me to sand. All right, so here's where we're at. Just finished sanding down all of the expanding foam. Let's take a look. Came out so good. Let's take a look underneath as well. So we are, happy with that. So what we're gonna do now, we are a 2-hour crunch. We're gonna be close in trying to make this 24 hours. We had a delay, it rained a bunch today. I'm gonna get ready. I'm gonna cut up some cloth, and yeah, let's get the glass and get out of this freaking suit. These things work so good, but these are like wearing plastic bags. Sweat my butt off. So check it out. Before I do any laminating, even cutting my material, I really want a clean surface. So this is a little overkill, but I'm going to be rolling out some pretty big pieces. I want to keep from doing too many joints or overlapping. What I mean by that is I want to do my laminating in as few pieces as possible. So I'm going to go for the entire strip on the top and the entire strip on the bottom in one shot, one big piece. I'm going to show you the key and the trick to doing that, so you're not going with a bunch of little pieces. What I like to do is write out my measurement. I like to label, right, so the A pieces, which I'll then be able to mark them after I cut them. I do a circle. I'm going to need 2 of them, 3.5 inch by 82 inches, and then my B pieces, which will be for the bottom. You know, I could go a T and a B, top and bottom. Sometimes I work, if I'm working from the front of a boat back, I'll do friends driving by. I'm going to mark these, and as I cut them, I just add a little check mark for each piece. So these pieces are extra long, so what I'll do is I do a measurement and go my 0, a 50, and what I'll do is I'll just mark part of my cloth. So I just go 50, boom, and now I'm just going to add 32 inches to that, cut it. I've got my length of 82, and then I can split it down the middle. I've got my 2 pieces. Let me tell you what, if you're going to do any glass work, invest in a good pair of shears, scissors. You want some quality, not crap like this. This doesn't work. I lent out my pair. They will last you forever. You can sharpen them. I mean, literally will last you forever. So a quality pair of fiberglass shears is well worth the money, and it makes life so much easier. They're bigger, you'll get better cuts, it's easier on your hands. I'm having to make do with this. Luckily, I'm not cutting too much. So this is what I'm using. All right, so now I've got my 2 stacks. What I'm going to be doing is using this as my wet out table. So I'm going to lay these out, I'm going to wet them out, and then show you how I handle a big piece like this and putting it on the boat. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe the boat down. My lamination areas, I'm going to wipe down with acetone. All right, so everything's clean. Got myself a little bed down there. No, I like to be comfortable. It is so important when you're doing fiberglass work. You don't want to put yourself in a position to be rushed. And if you're uncomfortable, you'll naturally rush through your laminations, which means you might not get all the air out, you might not soak everything right, you might overlook something. So I want to be comfortable. And the other key to not feeling rushed during laminating is most people put way too much hardener. So when you're working with polyester resin especially, you can get it to kick off really quick and really hot. I like to give myself plenty of time to work with it. I'm in Florida, it's super hot, we're pretty much summertime, so I go with a 1%. That's the amount of hardener that I use. And again, depending on how many laminations will also affect how much time. So the thicker you build volume wise of glass or resin, it's gonna kick off and build up heat much quicker. So I'm only doing 2 laminations. I can totally get away with wetting out both pieces and have more than enough work time to lay them up and to work out all the air bubbles and get them the way I want them to be. But before I start glassing, I'm gonna mix up a little putty. It's gonna be a resin and Cavasil mix, or Aerosil, same product, just different names. And that's gonna give me a little, people call it peanut butter, but that's gonna allow me to wipe over and use it as like a filler. It'll be mixed the same ratio, and that's gonna fill in any little voids I have in the foam, little cracks, you know, get it ready for then my wet glass to go right on it, wet on wet. So I'm gonna mix up my peanut butter now. I'm gonna use my little squeegee, wipe it on, and then wet out my cloth and put the cloth on. So that's the plan. All right, so I really wanted to walk you through the wetting out process and applying the putty mix as well. So first thing I'm doing here is I'm just being generous. I'm pouring the resin onto my glass and rolling it, spreading it pretty evenly. And what I'm looking for is, you'll notice that as the glass becomes more saturated, it becomes more transparent. You can see the dark spots. And by the time I'm done with this, I should basically have a uniform, transparent piece of fiberglass. And what I'm also going to do is just let this sit for a bit as I roll out my foam and the rest of the areas and surfaces that I'm going to be bonding to.
I then fold up my pieces, and notice how I fold these up. I just do little layers. That way it's going to be a lot easier for me to lay them out. I then take my putty, I spread it, fill all the voids, fill any sharp edges, and now I'm ready to take my glass and basically just lay them wet on wet. I'm going to first just lay them out real rough, and then I'm going to go over, work out the air. And this is about the point that my GoPro dies.
We're back in action.
All right, we're back in action. I just finished the centerboard box, sealing it, laminating it. The GoPro, of course, dies in the middle of, I guess you'll see it. Laminated. Came out super good. Inside, I'm happy with it. So now we are at the 24-hour mark. I think we're maybe a little bit over. Just the weather and having to run some errands and do things. We're pushed a little bit farther today, but it's all good. We're close. We're close to the 24-hour period. So I'm gonna do my measurements or lay out my cloth for the transom, and let's get this thing laminated. And after that, it'll be dry overnight, and tomorrow we'll go for a test ride. Okay, so here we go. Got a fresh battery in the GoPro. The battery went dead. And no, it didn't go dead. I just didn't record. But I got everything laid out, cut out, ready to mix some resin. We're gonna wet out these pieces, slap them on. And luckily Travis, the guy over there in the hat, reminded me to GoPro to film. All right, so I just mixed up some of our putty, and this is just to give us a nice round edge, fill up some of the holes, little porous areas. I'm gonna wet out the glass now, and then start putting these laminations on there. All right, the way I go with this is I'll roll one out, let it be soaking. I've got this one that's already soaked. This is wet out. Now I'm gonna lay this while that is absorbing and soaking. And I always want to go on these, especially on the 1708, you've got the woven side and then you've got the matte side. The matte side always goes down. Oh yeah. Oh man. This boat might work. Here's a pro tip. Wear multiple pairs of gloves so that if you need to take them off and remix, you just go boom! Boom! Okay, so that was how you do it without saying how we do it. Everything's laid up. All right, so with the glass work done, I was able to throw it out in the sun, and in about 3 hours, I really took advantage of the Florida sun and heat that built up. And I just did a quick little buzz down, knock off any sharp edges, trim it, and I was ready to hang the motor. All right, so we got the motor on. As expected, we're gonna need a wedge here because the motor's sitting, trimmed up quite a bit. Still, it's gonna work. And one way to find out. Here we go, we're loaded. Test run time. This is, I can't wait, this is gonna be awesome. This thing looks bad. We got our support vessel. We're ready.
mind-blowing how fast.
All right, so there you have it. This thing is a crusher. We just got back from a run. Wow, this thing, I'm not surprised. I knew it was gonna be pretty solid, but wow, we cruising. It was a bit choppy. It did good. I mean, with Joey and I, we were cruising at 19, 20 miles an hour, easy. And then when we goosed it, I got 26 miles an hour on the Navionics app, which is pretty awesome. I mean, 20-foot boat with a 25 horsepower going 25 miles an hour, basically. Definitely after adding the wedge in back and then doing a little hull modification, this thing is going to be probably a 30-mile-an-hour skiff.
Got to give you a warning. This is my disclaimer, folks. Do not try this at home because I don't want to hear about you guys dying or duplicating what you see on this video. We're on Project Sailboat Skiff. We are getting ready to take, look at all this. We are getting ready to cross over to the Bahamas. We're in Stewart right now, and we are going to possibly leave from here, or we might work our way south. It all is going to depend on how the inlet is and what the ocean's looking like right now. We've got a nice weather window, so we've got all our gear, spare motor, tons of fuel. We've got our EPIRB, GPS, backup upon backup upon backup. So let's put this puppy to the ultimate test. Yeah, here we go. We're going to the Bahamas.
So one of the things I like to do is do a test run fully loaded. So I opted to, instead of leave out of Stewart, to actually run south down the intercoastal all the way down to West Palm. This would give a good opportunity to work out fuel mileage, weight distribution, how the boat rode, find out comfy cruising speeds. You can see here we're just cruising south of Stewart on the intercoastal. It's a beautiful run. You can see the little beanbag chair. I got it set up on the back deck. It's actually a pretty great spot to sit and ride from. And this was Joey's first time going south down the intercoastal, so it was neat. And his night set, got to see all the big houses. And then we were treated to probably one of the most beautiful sunsets. And it worked out that our best time to cross was going to be about 11 p.m. So we departed at 11 p.m. and rode through the night. So as we departed, the ocean laid down just as expected, and we were able to average about 10-11 knots, making good way until about 2 a.m. And that's when everything shifted. We got a really short interval head sea, nothing too bad, just the chop that really beat us up. So we were only able to maintain about 3-4 knots for a majority of the early morning, leading until sunrise. But I'm a firm believer in letting the ocean tell you how fast to go, so we just took our time and cruised.
All right, so, boy,
21 miles off of Grand Bahama. First mate, Joey, what do you think, buddy?
oh, it's an adventure.
It's his first time ever crossing to the Bahamas, and what about to do it on?
I figured I wasn't going to play games. I wanted to go the hardest possible way. Struggle is real.
Let's see. Here we are. So we're gonna fuel up. It's been a rough ride, to say the least, but it's going good. So the best part of bringing friends over to the Bahamas for the first time is, no doubt, the first time they lay eyes on this water. So we're getting close. It's about to happen. You ready, buddy?
Oh, I can't wait.
Let me tell you what, this Bahamas water never fails to amaze me. It is absolutely beautiful. It's like seeing it for the first time every time. Ever since I was a kid, it just takes my breath away. So even though we're sleep deprived, We've been going on almost a 12-hour crossing to this point. Joey and I got our second wind. We check into customs and we're back on the water, heading to meet with my buddy Dan, who's anchored only a couple miles away. He's in a kick-butt sailboat. We're going to hang out with him for a couple days and do some exploring.
And you guys have a backup motor in here.
Yeah, bro.
No way. That's so sick.
We don't f around.
All right, so we've gotten to our spot that we're gonna be. And I like to offload some weight, especially when you're trying to run around and spearfish, do stuff. So this is what we've done. So now that we got all of our extra gear stashed away in the bush, our extra motor, our fuel, tools, just all the extra weight we didn't need, we are ready to do some exploring finally. So this property, it's incredible. It's actually miles and miles worth of untouched saltwater canals. Yes, they were man-made years ago, but for years this property has been abandoned. So what it's become is home and a very rich ecosystem for tons of juvenile species, marine life, whether it's sea turtles, juvenile sharks, lobster. I mean, we found so much exploring these canals. It was pretty mind-blowing. The infrastructure left behind was pretty impressive as well. And to just cruise through these little creeks at high tide, that's probably one of my favorite things to do, is just the exploring aspect. Taking this skiff, the boat did amazing. We were floating in just inches of water at times. It was super light, so anytime we tried to navigate down these little creek systems into a headwind, the wind would want to just push the bow around. So one of your best ways to navigate against current or against a headwind is sometimes in reverse. So that's what we did in some of these creeks when we had the headwind. We just cruise in reverse and just work our way through. It was so much fun. Here you can see some sea turtles just jetting around. Such a fun place to explore. And then, of course, it's fun to scavenge.
Look at that. Score.
Nice! Look at that. How cool is this spot? It's like our own little lagoon here. So after a couple days of exploring, Joey and I made our way down the coast, headed to Freeport. We were on our way to visit my buddy David, whom after Hurricane Dorian lost everything. I mean, he lost his car, his boat, his house. He was totally wiped out. So for the past 2 years, David's been borrowing my little red skiff. You might recognize this skiff, but my buddy Jonah brought it over. There's going to be more to this story, I promise. And in the meantime, David and his daughter have been fixing up a skiff that we donated to them. So they needed a couple things left on the boat. Joey and I were able to help out for a couple days, get this thing put together, throw the motor on it, and be there for their first test run. And this was probably the highlight of this entire trip for me and Joey. To be there, watch this family, get a tool, get a way to get out there on the water, make money, and make a living.
Yeah, buddy. I agree.
So after helping David and his family get their skiff back on the water, it was time to say farewell to our Project 24-hour skiff. Yes, we were donating our project skiff to a deserving Bahamian fisher. That's going to be an episode you are not going to want to miss in the near future. So I had to focus my attention now on Little Red. Check it out! I'm in one of my favorite all-time skiffs. Look at this thing! Pure beauty! We are getting ready to take this boat and put it to the test. 13.5-foot bass boat in the Bahamas. Let's do it! So I depart Freeport. I'm headed east on the south side of the island. And this is one of my favorite areas. The farther east you go, the better the water gets. You've got all these sandbanks. There's so much fun just to cruise and rip around, ride the surf some. Look at this! We're cruising! So as I get farther east, I actually end up cutting across some blue water just to cut off a couple miles. I'm still only a couple miles offshore, even though it looks like I'm a lot further out in this video. All right, so about halfway to Sweetings in the little blue water right now. Everroot's running strong. Yeah, baby. Let's do it. So the whole reason I'm heading to Sweetings Key on the very east end of Grand Bahama is to meet my buddy Barney and his wife Krista. It's Barney's birthday. He's got his family and friends flying in, and we are going to do some exploring. He's got his 27-foot Rambo that he brought over from Stewart. If the boat looks familiar, it's because it was featured on Project Dreamboat. You should take a look. It's a pretty awesome custom build. So the one thing that Barney wanted to see on this trip is blue holes, and boy did we get to see some blue holes. If you want to learn more about the blue holes and this location, check out the info in the description. I've got a link to my buddy Nico, that's whose place we're staying at, and also there's another video where I talk even more about these blue holes. So here's a short montage. So my big question is, if you're a subscriber, why did you decide to subscribe to this channel? Or if you're not a subscriber, why aren't you subscribing? I'd like to know. I'd love to get some feedback, find out what I can do to improve the channel. And as always, I appreciate you being here. Thanks so much for your engagement. You guys are the best. And of course, while I'm here, I'm gonna do some exploring in Little Red. This area, Sweetings Key, is one of my all-time favorite spots. You know what? It is my favorite, not gonna lie. This place was made for skiff exploration. It never gets old. And one of my favorite things to do is just zoom around these bights. Bights are basically the creeks that run between these islands. If gas wasn't $7.50 a gallon in the Bahamas, I'd probably cruise around all day. But this place is so much fun. The water is amazing. The people are amazing. So after a couple days of hanging out with my great friends, it's time to make my way back to West End. I head back to Freeport. I'm gonna spend the night, and in the morning, I'm making my way back to Florida.
Low coastal clouds will be rolling in later tomorrow afternoon. Cool and breezy through Wednesday with a chance of rain on Thursday.
So I'm pulling into West End, gonna get some fuel, and then we're gonna head out. I got one question to ask you guys. Have you ever seen a boat this small cross from Florida to here, or from here to there?
Oh, never.
These gentlemen are filling my jugs, and I've got enough to get back to Florida. question is, will the boat make it to Florida? That is the question. No, it'll be fine. I'm a big believer in letting the ocean tell you how fast to go. So even if I have to slow down to 10 knots, 8 knots, whatever it is, I'm fine with that. I'm in no rush. I got plenty of daylight, plenty of fuel. So I'm about 10 miles out of West End. Not small out here. But it's actually pretty smooth. Getting ready to refuel. Jump on the tank. Tank. Trying to run from the storm. It is faster than me, so about to get rained on. All right, middle of the Gulf Stream. We just had a big rain come through. I like to take a break out here, stop halfway. It's pretty humbling. There isn't much more of a vulnerable feeling than being in the middle of the Gulf Stream on a little boat, on any boat really. It just lets you kind of see what a little speck we are in this great big ocean. But regardless of what size boat you're on, it's pretty cool to stop out here and just listen to everything and be in the moment. Yeah. We're making good time. About 3 hours in now, so right on schedule for a 6-hour knock on wood. Hopefully it keeps going well. Let's keep plugging along. I see land! You'll never be able to see it on the GoPro, but it's always a beautiful thing. Seeing land, land ahoy! It's West Palm. I'm trying to make the cutoff to Jupiter. Pretty much, I ride the waves. Try to find a slot to ride in that's the easiest and doesn't beat the boat up or beat me up as much. And it pretty much put me on the right trajectory for Jupiter. So, about 10 miles off Jupiter. the two contradicting or opposing swells have now become one, so it's really laid down. It's beautiful out, so it's smooth enough. I'm just gonna beeline it up to Stewart, go with the swell. I mean, it's, look at this, how nice it is. You can see the skyline. This is Jupiter right here, Hope Sound, and Stewart. So here we go, off to Stewart. Well, made it. Oh, that's my record for crossing across the Gulf Stream in the smallest skiff. Touchdown! Made it. I gotta thank the good old OMC 25 coming through, super reliable. 6:08. So actually departed at 12:11, so almost exactly 6 hours. And considering I went pretty much due west, almost to Jupiter, just because of the way the waves and swell were, and then cut back north, I probably tacked on an extra 15 miles. So overall, made some really good time. There you have it. I'm gonna have a good night's rest tonight, that's for sure. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was definitely quite the adventure. I think close to 400 miles I did on a skiff from Florida, leaving to Bahamas, exploring the Bahamas, then back to Florida. Just under 400 miles total round trip over the last couple weeks. It has been quite the adventure. I'm happy that you were able to join me. And as always, I so appreciate all of your energy towards this channel. Your comments those make my day. I constantly want to improve this channel and improve some of my videos. So if you have any suggestions, any questions, comments, I'd love to hear from you. As always, I do these videos for you. So any love you throw towards the channel is greatly appreciated. I think that concludes it. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.
We're going bass fishing, y'all. Yeah!